right, Margaretta Elementary, it is almost time for school to start, and we will be starting here at Margaretta with our hybrid learning model before going to our remote learning model. And that means there's going to be some changes for those few days that you're in school. And one of those changes is going to be right when you get picked up at your bus stop. You're going to notice a couple things. The first thing you're going to notice is that your bus driver, along with all of your teachers, cafeteria workers, friends, everybody in the building will be wearing a mask. They'll be wearing a mask. So when you get on the bus in the morning, students, you're going to have to wear your mask onto the bus. So you'll put on your mask before getting onto the bus. And as you get on the bus, you're going to notice that your bus drivers are also going to be wearing masks. Okay, so when you get on the bus, that's one thing that you're going to notice. When you get onto the bus, open the bus here. When you get onto the bus, you're going to be seated from the back to the front, and every student will have an assigned seat. So when you get on the bus in the morning, you're going to see your bus driver, who will be in a mask, and you will be seated from the very back to the front. We will try to seat students in the same families together. We will not sit behind the bus driver. That seat will always be open. So you will have assigned seats, and you'll be seated from the back of the bus to the front of the bus. When you dismiss in the morning from the bus to come into school, the buses will be dismissed one at a time. So I will call the bus number. The bus will release you from the front to the back. So the very front students are going to get off first, and they're going to come into the building, and each bus will dismiss one at a time. That way we can be socially distanced while going into the building from the bus. Same thing when you leave the building at the end of the day. You'll be coming to the bus at one homeroom at a time, and you'll be seated from the back to the front when we get on the bus. All right, now that we're off the bus, we're coming into the building, we have our masks on. When you come into the building, you're either going to come straight to the cafeteria for breakfast, or you're going to go straight to your classrooms. Okay, so coming into the cafeteria to breakfast or straight to your classrooms. When you come into the cafeteria for breakfast, what you'll do is this year you'll come through the very first doors. So you'll come on into the cafeteria, and all students will sit facing the mural, 3 to a table, to a big table, and we'll social distance you that way. So you're going to come on in, and we're going to seat from front to back. So when you come into the cafeteria, you're going to have your book bag, you're going to have your coat, you're going to have all the things you need, and we're going to seat you from front to back. So the first student will come up, and we'll sit down at this table here. Okay? From there, we will seat 3 students per table. So we'll have a student here, we'll have a student in the middle, and we'll have a student on the end. When there's 3 to this table, we'll fill the next one, and again, we're doing it from front to back. Students will put their bags and coats on the seat beside them. Okay, so you're going to bring your bag and your coat right to the table, sit it right down beside you, and have a seat. Okay, once you sit down and you have your food, you can take off your mask and we can eat. So we're going to have our masks on until we're seated down at our table and the breakfast is brought to you. We're going to bring the breakfast out to you this year after you're seated. So when you get in the cafeteria, you can sit down and you can have a break from your mask. Mask can come off and we can go ahead and eat. When we dismiss from the cafeteria, students will be dismissed. They will get their items. They will take their tray. They will throw it out like they typically have. But when you get up to throw out your tray, since we're moving around, we're going to put our mask back on. We're going to get up. We're going to throw out our trays, come back, grab our stuff, and we're going to head on out to class. So when we head on out to class, we're going to exit through these doors here. And we're going to make a turn, and we're going to go right to your classroom, okay? So when we go to our classrooms, we have our masks still on because we are in the hallway, and we'll head down to our class. When we're walking to class, we are not using our lockers or coat hooks this year. You're going to take all of your items with you and take them right to your classroom. So on your way to class, make sure you have all your stuff. head to the classroom you're in for homeroom first thing in the morning. Take all your stuff into that room. We're not stopping at coat hooks, and we are not stopping at lockers. So let's go to our first class. Okay, we finished our breakfast. We're heading to our first class. We have our masks on because we always have our masks on when we're in the hallway. And we're going to stay to the right. We're going to walk down the right side of the hallway so that we have traffic going one way on here and we're not running into the traffic coming the other way. So we're always walking to the right, masks on. We're going to head to our first class. So let's head to our first class down here. Remember, when we are heading to class, we are not using lockers and we are not using coat hooks. We're going to take all of our items into our first class with us. So let's head to our first class of the day. So we're at our first class, which happens to be Mrs. Mitchell's class. That's our first class of the day today. We have our book bag and our coat with us because we're not using the coat hooks or the lockers. And we're going to come on into class. We're going to find our seat. And your seats will be spread apart this year. Okay, so we're going to find our seat, which maybe happens to be this one right here. We're going to sit down. We're going to set our coat on the back of the chair if we have one, our book bag beside us if we have one. And once we're seated, and we are socially distant from other students, we can take off our masks, okay? And while we're seated and doing work, as long as we can stay socially distant from students, we can have our masks off and we can get our schoolwork done. If Mrs. Mitchell comes over to help me at my desk, now we have to put our mask back on because we're not socially distant from Mrs. Mitchell. So we're gonna have our masks on when we have to be close to others, and we're going to have our masks off when we are at our desks or when we're eating and we're socially distant from other students. So when we're in class, that's how we'll have our mask rule, okay? Now keep in mind that while we're at our desks working socially distant, we can have our masks off, but when we get up to either use the restroom or go see the teacher at her desk if we need to, or head to lunch, we have to put our masks back on. So anytime we get up out of our desks, we're going to put our masks back on to walk around. So let's head down to the cafeteria for lunch. So while you're standing in line for lunch, remember our masks are on and we are socially distant away from the people in front and behind us. So we are going to be spaced in our lunch line at least 6 feet in front, 6 feet behind as we walk into the cafeteria. We are not going to stop and scan our fingers at the desk like we typically do. You're just going to walk right into the cafeteria, and just like for breakfast, we're going to start seating from the front back, 3 to a table, everybody facing the mural. So let's head into the cafeteria for lunch. Once we are seated for lunch and we're ready to eat, we can take off our masks and we can eat our lunch. And we can do that because we're socially distant from our peers. Remember, there's only 3 people per table and we're all facing the same direction. Okay, so we'll have our lunch and then we'll head out to recess. Now, a couple important things about lunches this year. It's gonna be a little bit different. Kindergarten, first, and second grade will eat in the cafeteria like they usually do. But in order to keep our lunches socially distant, we're gonna have our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students eat in their classrooms, okay? This helps us prepare the cafeteria for our students between lunches. And what we'll do is once our students leave, once you leave the cafeteria to go to recess, which you'll be going to recess like you typically do, once you leave to go to recess, what we will do is we will sanitize each table with this disinfectant solution. And what we'll do is all we do is we spray the table. And we'll spray all the tables with this solution. It dries very quickly and we'll be ready for our next set of students to come into the building. The solution also is okay to touch. No harm in touching the solution, although it dries in about 30 seconds. We'll have our tables ready to go for the next set of students to come in. Students, when you do get dismissed to go to recess, again, we're standing up and we're walking in the hallways. We always have our masks on. Okay, so we'll end up going to recess. This year our recesses will be staggered as well. So when one side of the playground is being used, the other side is not. We're going to flip-flop them back and forth. Typically in the past, we would have all of our students using one side and then move to the next. Not this year. We have made it so when kindergarten is on one side of the playground, we'll have the older kids on the other. So there's no overlap this year in how students are out there at recess. Okay, so there's a few more things I want to talk about before our video is over about our upcoming school year. Yes, we will be in school for the first 2 weeks in our hybrid model. So we'll have some students coming to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and some kids coming to school on Wednesdays and Fridays. And we divided that up. Last names A through K will be coming on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Last names L through Z will be coming on Wednesdays and Fridays. However, if you do have a family in a household that has students with last names from either A, K, and both L, Z, we will make sure that every single family comes on the same day. So families will be coming on the same day regardless of last name, as long as they live in the same household. Okay? We will be going fully remote after that first 2 weeks. So it's super important for students to come in during this hybrid session to learn how to use all of the tools that they're going to need for remote learning after that. One really important thing that is coming to students is our district is going one-to-one with Chromebooks. So every student will have the opportunity to have a Chromebook in this district. There will be a $50 technology fee assessed to those Chromebooks. But we'll have Chromebooks for the kids to use during the remote learning. That Chromebook will be theirs for the entire school year, whether we're remote or not. That is their Chromebook to use all year long. Students will be expected to take that Chromebook back and forth from home to school, and it will be expected to be charged every night and ready to go for that school day, whether we're here in hybrid or not. So that's one change that is coming that's very important. All right, another important thing to be aware of, parents, guardians, is when you get a call, or if you get a call from our school nurse, you will be picking up your student from the school nurse at the bus loop entrance. And that is different from years past. Typically, you would pick up your student and sign them out in the main office. This year, when you get a call, or if you get a call from our nurse and you need to come pick up your student for any reason from the nurse, you need to come to the bus loop entrance to sign out and pick up your student. Another important thing that's going to be different this year at the elementary is our start and end times. We are going to a double bus loop in our district. So the Margaretta start time at the elementary school will be at 9 o'clock. That is when school will start. And students will be dismissed to the buses or to pickup lines at 3:40 every day this year. That means if you are dropping off a student, you cannot drop them off at our building until 8:40 every day. We will not open our doors until 8:40. Students will go directly from your vehicle where you drop them off, they'll go directly to their classrooms. If they're getting off the bus, buses will not be dismissed into the building until 8:40. So that's another important thing that parents need to be aware of as we start the school year. Students, I look forward to seeing you when you come in. I'm excited about having you back in the building, even if it's only for a couple days in our hybrid model, and we look forward to getting you ready for what's to come in this very unusual school year that's coming at us for 2020-2021. See you soon.